Everyone's been caught up into this frenzy of an election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. You may have missed the bigger story here, but welcome to Bathroom Gate, where Democrats are flushing your rights down the toilet. You all may remember this. This is back from July 22nd, when the NBA pulled out the All-Star game that was going to be held in Charlotte over the transgender bathroom law that was going to be held there in 2017. In order to flex their money, they decided to pull their All-Star game out of Charlotte and over their disgust for not allowing this federally mandated bathroom law go into effect in North Carolina, because the governor stood up for the people. Because in essence, what this bathroom law does, it allows people to go to the bathroom of the gender that they identify with rather than the bathroom of the gender that they actually are. And this obviously poses a problem, because this would allow little boys to potentially go to the bathroom with grown women, and grown women, little girls, going to the bathroom with grown men. I find it hard to believe that there's even 25% of this country that believes that stuff like this is okay, so obviously this is more propaganda from the left. Now, this is what's going on that I haven't seen much of anybody paying attention to, that needs attention, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. And we've got this right here. We've got the North Carolina governor race, which is the state that Charlotte is in, and the North Carolina governor alleges voter fraud in bid to hang on. Republican Pat McCrory is trailing in a tight race, but his campaign is challenging votes. Pat McCrory still hasn't conceded, alleging voter fraud in 50 of North Carolina's 100 counties and contesting individual votes before dozens of local election boards. This sounds like a pretty hefty task for anybody. North Carolina GOP Governor Pat McCrory, the same man who was standing up to the bathroom bill, signed a 2013 voter ID law, which a federal court rolled back this year for illegally suppressing African American votes, is now claiming that massive voter fraud in his state swung the 2016 election against him, as McCrory's campaign continues to challenge Democrat Roy Cooper's then lead 2 weeks after Election Day. So, the contentious bitter race between McCrory and Cooper, the state attorney general, is the closest governor's race in the country in a dozen years, and it's not officially over. Cooper, the basically unknown state attorney general, has extended his lead to 7,902 votes. Now, the State Board of Elections, which is updated less frequently, shows Cooper leading by a mere 6,703 votes. And while McCrory is challenging the election over voter fraud, Cooper announced a transition team prepared to take over the reins of state government, instead of willing to work with him to go through the due process of law that we should have in this nation, right? Well, you obviously don't get all the truth from one article. You have to check multiple sources on these things, because there's too many layers. So let's go check and see what ABC has to say about the election. And of course, new evidence of voter fraud in North Carolina alleged. Now, it says here, the State Board of Elections revealed Wednesday that more than 35,000 people may have double voted by casting ballots in North Carolina and another state during the 2012 election. The Board of Elections were careful to say they don't have proof of fraud, but they have good reason to look closer. They verified there was voter fraud, said Susan Merrick, with the conservative think tank NC Civitas. Merrick said she has been warning about voter fraud for years, and she said the numbers just don't show it's happening, and it's happening a lot. They identified tens of thousands of voters that potentially voted in North Carolina and in another state. Now, it's interesting how they keep saying "and in another state," because obviously they are intentionally omitting what the other state is, because they don't want people to be able to look into the voting records of the other state to help uncover this major voting fraud that is going on by the Democrats. And obviously, since they're saying 35,000 people voted in North Carolina and another state during the 2012 general election, this could very well explain how President Obama got reelected. Now, 756 voters with the exact same match of first and last name, date of birth, last four of the social were registered in North Carolina and another state and voted in North Carolina and in the other state in the 2012 general election. 35,750 voters with the same first and last name and date of birth were registered in North Carolina and in another state and both voted in both states in the 2012 general election. Now, those findings only include data from the 28 states which participated in the 2014 interstate crosscheck. So, we have only 28 out of 50 states that have agreed to do an interstate crosscheck to make sure that people are not voting in multiple states. And I'm willing to bet that a good vast majority of these states that are not participating in the interstate crosscheck are places where you will find Democratic strongholds like Oregon and California and so on and so forth. And additionally, during an audit of death records from the Department of Health and Human Services, the board discovered that 81 deceased voters that had voter activity after they died. I like how they use that word, voter activity, instead of actually saying, hey, we got massive dead people voting in the elections here. Hello. So they've already came out and shown that 35,000 people voted in North Carolina and some other state during the 2012 election. So the governor once again takes a common stance and says, okay, we need voter ID. If you want to vote, you need to have an ID because we don't need to have 35,000 people voting in multiple states to rig an election. And of course, what happened? The federal government came in and said, you can't prevent voter fraud because when you do that, you discriminate against black people. So they are stealing the election from McCrory as we speak, and I've seen very little media attention on this, and I think we all need to pay attention to this before people like the cast of the Avengers and the mainstream media and the NBA can decide who's our president by brainwashing the masses and threatening them with their money being taken away. So we need to keep an eye on this, guys, because as we can see, once again, the Democrats are flushing the Constitution right down the toilet.